first step to accomplishing the Jessica Rabbit look is to cover the eyebrows because she had these really thin, high arch eyebrows, and I don't have that shape. So I'm using a purple glue. This is from Elmers. It's a non-toxic glue, and I'm slathering this onto the brows, and then I'm using a mascara spoolie to groom the brows towards my forehead. Once that has dried, I'm going to go back with a little bit of translucent powder and apply that over the brows, and then I'm going to repeat the same steps as I did before with applying a little bit more glue, grooming it through the brows, and then applying more translucent powder. In my experience, the thickness of your brows will tell you how many layers of glue you need to apply. So for me, it's really only about 2 to 3, but if you have thicker brows, you may need to go as far as 4 to 6. And in between drying sessions on the brows, I am applying an eyeshadow primer. This is the one from Milani. And to begin the process of covering up the brows, I'm using a orange color corrector to start with. The reason why is because the hairs that are left behind that you can see have blue tones, and orange will cancel out blue. And then I'm going back with the e.l.f. concealer brush and using this to blend along the edges of where I applied the orange concealer. And you can see they're starting to fade very nicely there. To help cover them up some more, I'm going in with the MAC Prolong concealer in the shade NC15, and I'm applying this over the top of that orange concealer and using the same method that I used before to blend this over the brows. I'm going to let that set for a little bit and start applying the eyeshadow. So the first eyeshadow I'm using here is MAC's Grape pigment, and I'm using a small smudger brush. This is from Tarte, and what I'm doing is mapping out the lines of Jessica Rabbit's eyeshadow. So if you study her eyes, she had an oval shape that went really high up. So I'm going to be drawing out the shape first with this eyeshadow color. Great thing about using eyeshadow to map out your shape like this is that it's really easy to blend it away. If you take a little bit of your concealer and use that to correct any of the lines, that will help to sharpen up the lines and also eliminate any mistakes. And now that I have my shape pretty well mapped out, I'm going back with more of Grape pigment. I'm using the MAC 239 brush here, and I'm using that to start to fill in the lids. And while I'm filling in the lids, I am going to keep the middle of the lid blank because we are going to be applying another color there shortly. And that color is MAC's Digit. This is a light pale blue toned purple. I'm applying this onto the middle of the lid, and I'm going to start blending this in with Grape pigment on the outer edges of the lid. If you look at Jessica Rabbit's eyes, they were not this one flat, one-dimensional color applied all over the eye. Her eyes had a 3D look to them, and so that's why I'm using the two different colors here to give it more of that three-dimensional look. Now that I've got the eyes pretty much done, I'm going to go back and focus on the brows, and so I'm using Inglot Gel Liner in number 89 here with the MAC 263 brush. Her brows were very thin and very highly arched. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm drawing a thinly arched line directly above my own natural brows, which makes it a lot easier to draw this kind of a shape from scratch because I'm basically just following the outline of my own brow shape. And then I went back with another brow product. This is MAC's Brow Fluidline in Redhead, and I layered it over the Inglot Gel Eyeliner to give the brows a little bit more of those red tones. Jessica Rabbit's lash line was very pronounced, so I'm going in with Inglot's Gel Eyeliner at number 77 and using this to line the upper lash line. And I'm also going back with a liquid eyeliner pen. This is Styli Styles Stylus pen, and using that to draw a very dramatic wing on the outer corners. I would have loved to have used my Inglot Gel Eyeliner to draw a wing on the outer corners, but mine has gotten a little bit dried up. It's become really hard to work with, unfortunately. For Jessica's lashes, they were very flared out on the outer corners, very cat eye-like. So what I did to recreate that kind of a look, I'm using two different pairs of false eyelashes layered on top of one another, and these are both from inkyminky.com. They are the styles Doe-Eyed and Just a Touch. To give the skin that flawless look that she had, I'm first applying my MAC Prolong Concealer in the shade NC15. I'm also applying my foundation. This is the MAC Prolong Foundation in the shade NW13, and I'm using the MAC 128 brush to blend this into the skin. And then I set everything with a pressed powder, also from MAC. And now that I have the face done, I'm going back and adding mascara onto the lower lashes. This is the Makeup Forever Smoky Extravagant Mascara. I couldn't detect any blush on Jessica Rabbit's face, but she had very pronounced cheekbones. So we are going to be doing some heavy contouring in this look. I'm using the Park Avenue Princess bronzer from Tarte to really carve out my cheekbones in this look. Also taking the same bronzer and using it down the sides of my nose because she had this very petite, tiny little nose, and so you want to slim down your nose as much as possible. Contour is a great way to do that. I also added contour at the top of the nose into the brows and underneath the lower lip to give the lip more fullness. For Jessica's red lips, I wanted to give them a three-dimensional look, similarly to how we did with the eyes earlier. So the first thing that I did was I lined my lips with a wine-colored lip liner. This is from Revlon, and this is going to give the lips more of that three-dimensional effect once we layer the lipstick on top. And the lipstick I chose for this look is Milani's Cherry Crave. This is a very beautiful shimmery red color. I also went back and added a small bit of gloss onto the center of the bottom lip to give it that voluptuous big lip look. Before I started filming this tutorial, I had already set my hair with hot rollers. Her hair was inspired by Veronica Lake, so I wanted these wavy curls, and the ones around my face had pretty much fallen flat by this point. So I went back with a 1-inch curling iron and used that to curl my hair inwards towards the face, and then I went back with a brush and brushed them in towards my face. And then I took some time to shape them afterwards so I got more of that old Hollywood glam look, and of course covered the right eye.